Hello gang, I'm back. Elden Ring DLC, I'm still not done, so I still won't be consistently posting because I'm trying to stay off the internet for the most part so I don't get spoiled. That being said, there was a pretty large event that I just simply have to talk about because this is absolutely massive for me. This is everything to me really for Overwatch. So I'm sure if you've been around the channel for a while recently, you might have heard that I don't like the Overwatch 2 direction right now, and I'm actually in fact feeling like it's bad, to be honest with you. And it's been really sad for me because I grew up with Overwatch, like literally grew up with it my middle school and high school years. This was like all I played. I've played it still 300 hours since Overwatch 2 came out. I am a huge Overwatch fan. I just really don't like the direction the game is going. I think it's a shit ass direction. Not to say that you can't like it, but that's just my opinion, okay? And this isn't even just about 5v5 versus 6v6, even though I do yes, I have a preference, and I'll definitely talk about this in this video. This is more just I hate how tank plays. Tank plays like shit. It has played like shit ever since Overwatch 2 came out. I think people are just now starting to realize it because it's been so long of tank being shit that now the queue times are starting to drop. So that being said, let's see what Blizzard's got to say about talking about tanks. And I also want to say one thing. I really don't like some of the wording in this article, so I'm probably going to be downright toxic and mean to the developers here, but I'm tired of trying to be a nice guy for this game. They need people to be assholes to them because clearly not enough people do. So let's just get into it, especially from the tank side. I'm going to try to not be too mean. So, hey everyone, it's been a bit since our last director's take. We've missed a few of these in recent months. Sorry for the gap. Speaking to you all will continue to be a priority for our team. So first of all, this is just another broken promise, okay? I'm so tired of Overwatch breaking promises. They said they were going to talk to us consistently. They just stopped like a few months ago, and we hadn't been getting them consistently at all. I think that's terrible, terrible look. I really don't understand why they can't even be bothered to make a fucking blog post. Like, I get it that it is hard to work on a video game. Trust me, I've made video games. I coded for so much of my high school. I was like the thing I did. And I know it's hard, don't get me wrong, but you absolutely have enough time for one of your employees to sit down and write a fucking blog post. I think the reason they didn't is because they were probably covering a lot of just shit topics, to be honest with you, and people weren't interested in that. So this is interesting. Let's talk about tanks. And this is one of the first things I really don't like how they word it. I just don't. They say, let's talk about tanks. Let me rephrase that. A lot of you have been talking about tanks. I would like to contribute from a developer's point of view. This wording right here of a lot of you have been talking about tanks, you'll notice this a lot about the Overwatch team. And I'm not gonna lie, it just pisses me off. It's like they're like, well, you guys, it's your fault because you guys are talking about tank. We're talking about tank because you, the developers, have made it dog shit for an entire year. I'm tired of people acting like, and this entire article acts like season 8 was where everything started to fall off. Tank was shit before that. You want to know why Flats never plays Reinhardt like ever? It's because it's just not fun. Tank is just not a fun role unless you're playing the one broken tank, which no one wants to do. So let's just keep going. We've heard that players from the tank, or we've heard from players that the tank role is in a tough spot right now and has been since season 8 ended, and we agree. This is big. I will give them props when they deserve it. I'm glad that they're finally agreeing. Although I will say, we don't need to hear that you agree, to be honest with you. You need to work on it. I don't know what else to say. I get that you can't push out an update really fast, but like, dude, we should have had this fixed a season ago, not 2 seasons. That's not to say that tanks were in a perfect spot before season 9, which they were not. They were not even close. I don't know why they're trying to act like tank was fun before season 9. It was not. Tank has been shit for a really long time. They have not felt fun to play at all. But the problem now is that most of them just don't feel as tanky as they should. And this is something that I'm seeing a lot of content creators are just disagreeing with. And I completely somewhat agree, where they say, I will say one thing, they genuinely don't feel tanky. Like, if you want my honest opinion, I think every tank literally just feels like they die just about as fast as a DPS or support, which sure is nice for a DPS and support, is dog shit for the tank. And I get that And I'm not even saying I want them to be more tanky. I actually don't. I want the tanks to play more aggressively and less like a DPS, but more take space aggressively, because that's what they were in Overwatch 1, at least most of the time, for me. And that was fun. Overwatch 2 right now, it's either a meta of go in like a huge DPS and kill everything, or play like hide and seek. It is so terrible. Or play the flavor of the month tank. Many times both support heroes need to focus solely on the tank to keep them alive. In this scenario, tanks and supports can feel like they have limited option in their gameplay and are essentially tied to each other. They are. They absolutely are. And that's one of the biggest problems. Is for a while support didn't rely on anyone else. Damage didn't rely on anyone else. But tank, you're completely reliant on your team. So it feels like dog shit. Our internal stats show this as well. We've come up with a new metric since season 9 and we simply call tankiness. This was crazy to me. Admitting that they don't even they didn't even have a way to like measure how tanks were feeling when it comes to how many deaths they should be experiencing compared to what they are. The fact that it took them until season 9 is crazy. I'm tired of people just letting that slide. What the fuck were y'all doing? Do you not care about tank at all? Or were you just treating it like a big DPS? Because if you're just treating it like a big DPS, that makes sense why the game no one wants to play fucking tank. Because anyone who wants to play DPS is just gonna play DPS, man. Oh wait, yeah. It's roughly the number of deaths a hero experiences compared to the deaths they ought to experience. There's a lot of stats that go into determining what an expected death is, so I'm not able to go into that level of detail here. The point is that your experience and our data is aligned. I really want to see this, first of all. I expect that in the next few months, we should hopefully see something that tells us what this stat is. We probably won't, but I want that to be shown because then we can hold them accountable in the future. It won't be though. Since season 9, almost all heroes in the game have become less tanky. This isn't unintended. I get what he's saying, like they've become less tanky, but if you're playing like tank, like in my opinion, Cassidy literally feels like you're playing a tank. Reaper's the same way. May, Lifeweaver, I feel like literally lasts longer than most tanks when it comes to getting shot at. It is crazy. One of the issues that we're addressing at the time is the sheer amount of burst damage and healing available. So this is crazy to me because, first of all, the burst damage, I do agree, was frustrating, but that has literally not been a big problem, at least for me. Like, I get that dying instantly on tank is not fun, but dude, we need to work on something else. Just changing the burst damage is not what we need. And healing available, them even saying this is laughable to me because they've done anything but nerf healing. They've literally done anything but nerf healing, which is terrible. Terrible. It's part of the big problem. And this isn't even a support hate channel. I fucking love playing Lucio. And I also loved playing Mercy for a long time. But like, healers just need nerfs. Like, in my opinion, I think the game needs massive nerfs. I think everything should get nerfed, like quite a bit. But that won't happen, I'm sure. However, most tanks, excluding Bayle, who is roughly the same, moved a lot further than heroes and other roles. Recent changes like the headshot damage reduction on tank had some effect on this, but it's still under where we'd like it to be. We still like many of the game-wide changes that were implemented over the last few seasons. I'm going to tell you which one of these I do like. Projectile size increase. I actually don't really mind this, to be honest. I get it. It's nice for a casual player. I do think it's got its cases where it is kind of frustrating, but I don't mind this. Headshot damage, I do think is kind of ridiculous. I'm not going to lie. Why are we doing this? Why is it less rewarding to hit headshots on tank? If you're going to do this, just make it so tanks just take slightly less damage every shot rather than headshot damage, at least for me. And then knockback reduction on tanks, which this also, I don't like this very much. The passive health regeneration on all heroes, this should have been like this the entire time. The fact that tanks were gaining like, what was it, like 5 HP a second or something when it initially came out is genuinely a laughable joke. That shit was terrible. I don't know who even made that. However, what we're currently discussing is whether a path forward from here should be centered around broad, systematic changes or per hero changes. Hey, I'll tell you guys right now, you should focus on hero changes. Stop doing broad things. It's what's ruining the game. We're discussing limited versions of the former. For instance, we're looking at reduced versions of the damage roll passive. I know every DPS player in the comments is going to hate me for this, but I'm gonna be honest, that roll passive just should not work as well on tanks. I don't mind it working like pretty nice on everything else, but if it like, instead of doing 15%, I think it's 15, right? Or is it 20? It might be 20. I don't remember. It's one of those two. Instead of it doing that on tank, maybe it should do half. And if both DPS shoot at you at the same time, it can add up to what it's supposed to be. But like, I hate the fact that tank, you just die, like, because your healers just can't heal you that much, which sucks. It genuinely does suck. I get why it's here, because damage otherwise feels like shit as well. As of someone who was playing a lot of Cass and Reaper before I quit playing, damage felt like shit when they nerfed this passive, and I'm sure it felt like shit before the passive was there. So I'd be careful with that one. I actually think damage roll passive is the only good one. Like, I actually do think it's at least fitting for the role and makes sense. I think tank's passive fucking sucks. I think support's passive is just, has always been broken, and I still think it causes a lot of problems. We'll keep going. We're discussing, oh wait, yeah. However, we'd like to do the latter. Good. Individual buffs or nerfs to heroes can have a dramatic effect on their effectiveness compared to a broad change. Yeah, we know that. Additionally, it further reinforces the differences between heroes. For example, one of the reasons Reinhardt ought to feel tanky is through his shield. I know this is like a hot take. I don't think buffing the shield's gonna help nearly at all. I'm not gonna lie. Anyone complaining about Reinhardt's shield right now is just actually tweaking, because that thing goes down faster than literally any other ability in the game. Like, and I am not bad at Reinhardt, okay? I put a lot of fucking time into that dude. His shield just gets cooked. It just does. I actually think they probably should have buffed it a while ago and taken it back to 1600. Hopefully that's what they're doing, and they're not buffing it to like 2000 or something though, or else yeah, then people are going to start complaining. Although I will say, if you want Reinhardt to be the best character in the game, that's something you're going to have to do, is a drastic measure like that. How does this relate to tank? We're putting together a patch that's targeted at increasing the tankiness of many of these heroes, but we're doing it through individual changes to each of them. Ideally, these changes would build on a hero's fantasy. Increasing the health of Reinhardt's shield is a good example of accomplishing both of those goals. It is a priority for our balance team, and right now we're targeting either mid-season 11 or season 12. We have some details on changes to expect and concrete timing soon. I will say right now, you guys take too long to make patches. I'm just gonna say it. I know that it's hard, once again, I get it, but leaving tank as bad as it has been until season 12, or even honestly even halfway through this season, is insane. Tank is horrible. It is no joke worse than playing the Elden Ring DLC. I've been playing the Elden Ring DLC and fighting some of the hardest bosses in gaming, and I would rather have every single boss in my entire game being some of those DLC bosses and fighting through Elden Ring than I would playing a single game of tank. Tank is fucking miserable, and it's not just me. Before someone's like, you're just complaining. No, every single person I've known in my real life, a lot of the people I've known online, and a lot of people that I've seen streaming and making content on this game are all agreeing that tank is fucking horrible to play. Once again, tank is not OP, or tank is not terrible. It's not like it needs buffs. It needs changed, because it just plays like shit. And the fact that it takes this long for a patch is fucking ridiculous. I'm not gonna lie to you. It is genuinely ridiculous. This touches on some points that we've been having about balance philosophy in general. Balance in the game is very nuanced, and we don't want to depend on the total power level or win rate of a hero. Really? Well, that's all you guys have done for the past like year, it seems, because the balance doesn't make any sense unless you're looking at it from that point of view. We look at the pick rate, skill tier, region, and platform, not to mention a myriad of other individual stats like the amount of damage, deaths, and kills heroes have. Top of stats, design goals, and community perception also guide our decisions. I fucking hate when they say shit like this, because the community perception for the past, I don't know, 8 seasons has been, hey, we don't like that Orisa, Mauga, and fucking Roadhog are the only 3 like viable tanks, and if it's not one of those 3, then it's the most busted character in the game because they giga buffed one of the tanks on accident, and now they're the only pickable tank. Where was the community perception then? Why weren't you listening to the community then? Was it because the other stats were so important to you that you were just willing to ignore it? Because that's terrible if it was. Some of the recent metas have brought into questions the different ways we look at balancing the heroes that could be considered niche. That's good at least, thank God, because yeah, the recent metas have been so bad that you made even me quit, which is crazy. I've said multiple times, I don't want to make fun, I don't like making light of this, but I genuinely do have an abusive relationship with this game. I can't stop coming back, I genuinely can't. But even I have had so little fun that I have stopped coming back. There are heroes that the community is okay with having a high win rate and a high pick rate. This is another section where I really don't like how they word it. When Reinhardt hits a 60% win rate, which is considered very high for us, and is played often, there are a few complaints. When a hero like Roadhog does this, he recently topped out at around 54%, the community reacts differently. Hey, I know you probably are trying to just word it like, I don't think he's actually trying to pull out the community, but like, you know why the community reacts differently? Because Roadhog fucking sucks. Like, what do you want from me? Reinhardt is a good character design, Roadhog is not. You want people to have fun playing your game? Make the fun characters viable, or even make them favorable, because then you know what, people are going to play the fun characters and have a fun time instead of picking fucking Roadhog and brain rotting until they don't know how to play anyone else. I'm sorry, but I don't like how that part is worded. I really don't. It feels like they're saying like, it's so weird that you guys don't like it when Roadhog is at 54% win rate, but you like it when Reinhardt's at 60. People wouldn't mind if Reinhardt was at fucking 80% probably, because he's fucking fun. Like, that's all that people care about. I don't understand. Gaming has become far too much like into the balancing, the competitive side. The point of games is to be fun at the end of the day. You just want people to be fun, so make fun characters viable. Even make them favorable, like I said. Like, if Genji was like 60% win rate, I don't think people would be complaining. Sure, there'd be some people, like there always is, but most people are totally okay with Genji being meta because he's fun and he's a hard character. Reinhardt's the same way. I know Reinhardt's pretty easy in the low ranks, but at the high ranks, he is decently hard to play well because he's just not... doesn't have verticality really. He's pretty reliant on your team. It's just he's a harder character to play up in the high ranks, and I think people are okay with that. There are some heroes that the community deems more fair or less frustrating than others. Hey, it's not just the community. You guys should also be doing that, because Roadhog is way less fair than Reinhardt. Let's just be honest. The mechanics of some heroes, especially the high levels of play, require us to pay more attention to them. Where the fuck was this? Sojourn and Kiriko were meta for fucking 10 seasons without a single change. They just did not change them at all. It was fucking frustrating. And before somebody says I'm exaggerating, yeah, you're right, I am exaggerating. Their changes were just tiny though, and they just remained meta every single time. And just by the way, it wasn't just at the highest ranks that Kiriko and Sojourn were good. Anywhere I would say above plat, those two are also fucking miserable to play against because anyone can just dominate on those two. I'll be honest, I haven't played recently, so I don't know how their nerfs are hitting. I'd hope they're hitting really strong though. We still want every hero to be competitively viable. Doesn't this go against what they literally just said in the balance like thing they did with Spylo? I didn't make a video on that, but Spylo had a big old interview with the hero design guy. And they said that they're fine with some characters not being competitively viable. They said like characters like Moira, they're fine with them kind of where they're at and not being super competitively viable. So is the team just split right here? Is that what we're seeing? Whatever. And we love that some of our heroes can be the right situational pick, but we think it's healthier for the game for us to proactively in a more timely manner manage certain heroes and prevent them from dominating. Yeah, like Orisa, Roadhog, and fucking Mauga. If they can keep those three out of the meta for like 2 years, or not 2 years, 2 seasons, maybe I would come back. Maybe. In that vein, where's the balance in the first few days of Season 11? Tank side, there's no standout winner. Diva, Sigma, Winston, Junker Queen, Reinhardt, and Zarya. Their win rates are all between 50 and 55%. What makes me kind of... I honestly, I don't know if it's the same for this season, but tank last season, if it's anything like last season, it might just be because it literally just doesn't matter how you play on tank. Because for example, for me, I would play a perfect game sometimes and lose. And I'm all right with that sometimes, but that would happen a lot. And I don't like to blame my team either, but a lot of the time it was because, let's say, my DPS just had a lot of deaths or something and wasn't playing as well. And I just can't do anything. It's just, you literally can't. You can't carry on tank, which is fucking horrible feeling, first of all. That's not to say that tank isn't the most important, because I will say tank is actually still the most important. It's just you can't carry on it. It's like you're... It's like you are on, like, a team... Yeah, I think Flats actually said it like this. He said you're like the quarterback, but you just don't have the ball, and you're expected to somehow make things work. It's like, what? I can't play the game. I'm just here to be like the target of everyone else. That is all I'm here to do, which is ridiculous. I would not be surprised if that's why no one's dominating. I will say, this is the first time in a long time that I have seen Reinhardt actually be played, which is nice, because I loved Reinhardt. I wish that I was still playing when he was meta, but it is what it is. With damage, Pharah continues to excel at around 58%. Hey, I've been saying this for months. The Pharah was always super dominate. Like, she was super good. Her rework was insane. And I've always hated her, to be fair. I hate Pharah, so I'm glad I'm not playing right now, actually. That sounds fucking miserable. Reaper at 55%, that sounds good. I wish I was playing kind of then. Reaper I've always wanted to play. And May at 50% have risen. And Sojourn has dramatically fallen around 44%. That's concerning. They're probably going to buff Sojourn, that means. Terrible. That's not good. Supports are relatively stable, with Alari being the biggest mover, rising a few percentage points to 55%. And that's it for this week. We have another director's take. We should have another director's takeout in a few weeks' time. Until then, have an amazing season 11 and let's make a great game. So I'm not gonna lie, this director's take made me very mad. I'm sure you can tell, but it made me very mad, because we are just, to me, this just shows that they either A, just don't have they have a fundamental misunderstanding on what most people are complaining about, or they're just completely lost in the stats. I think it's the latter. I think they are completely lost in the stats. They're trying to make everything a statistic, when at the end of the day, feelings are very important. One thing I am worried about is I think they're actually getting lost in the stats, which is really rough, because for example, they're trying to make tankiness a metric, which I agree they should have something like this, and it's crazy that it took them until season 9 to get that. But also, people aren't just saying that tank is bad. I actually would say most of the people complaining about tank right now aren't saying tank is a bad role. They're saying it's not fun, which just buffing them more is not going to help. I've been saying it. I said it on my Twitter about 8 months ago now. I said it on Twitter again recently. Just buffing tanks is not going to fix it. It's not like tank is super weak. Tank is actually pretty strong. It's just that tank feels like shit. You don't have very much impact. You are the main target. You are constantly harassed by the rest of your team because there's only one of you and you're expected to do everything. Stop buffing fucking tank. Look, I'm looking at you, any developer who happens to hear this. Stop fucking buffing tank and address that there is a fundamental problem with tank in the 5v5 experience. This is not to say that 6v6 will fix everything. I would prefer 6v6, but I'm not going to tell you that we need to go back to 6v6. But you need to fundamentally change something about how 5v5 tanks work. You need to, absolutely, something needs to change, because for the past, I would say at least 3 seasons, it's been miserable. And the past 7 seasons before that, it was worse than it ever was in Overwatch 1. So something needs to change. And that being said, he did follow up with this tweet with something else, which was, my last post spurred a lot of talk around 6v6. We recognize that this is an important topic for many people, including us, and would like to jump into the conversation to share our POV. Look for more look for more on this in the next director's take or possibly dev update. And I just want to say, the fact that it took you guys a fucking year to listen to the complaints, to even address it, looks fucking horrible. You have lost all confidence from me. My tweet, I literally said, yeah, no, this game is cooked. I've completely lost all confidence now. Because the fact is, it took a year of people saying, hey, maybe we should try this 6v6 thing. maybe 6v6 wasn't that bad. Maybe we should try it. And then every single time you said that, people would say it's rose-tinted glasses. They'd say, you're just nostalgic. 6v6 double shield. Do you not want to play, or like, can you imagine Zarya Malga and all these other stupid fucking things? Yeah, I can imagine tanks being able to play the game again. That's what I imagine. I dream of a world where I can have fun. I'll be honest, I'm sure you can tell, but this left an incredibly sour taste in my mouth. I think that this, I also, just to be clear, I don't think they're actually going to go back to 6v6. I think what this is, maybe the most this will be is we'll maybe do a mode to let you guys try it, like a quick play hacked. I think it's more likely to just be, this is why we're not doing 6v6. It's because of queue times. I think that's probably their only argument, if I had to guess, which, to be fair, is a fair point, because the queue times were rough back in Overwatch 1. But honestly, I see this as a good thing, though, at the end of the day, because if they come out and they say, hey, we're not interested in 6v6, I can finally quit. And I won't lie, if that does happen, I will make two final videos about Overwatch, and then I'll probably quit permanently. Because to be honest with you, I don't want to play if I'm not playing 6v6. And that's one of the main reasons I've been staying, is just hoping that maybe eventually they'd learn their lesson and see that 5v5 has these big problems that 6v6 never had. Not to say that 6v6 didn't have problems, don't get me wrong, 6v6 had hella problems. But I never had the problems I'm experiencing right now in 6v6. There was never a single point in Overwatch 1 where I did not want to play tank. I always wanted to play tank. I get that I'm a tank player, so of course I want to play tank. But in Overwatch 2, I have not wanted to play tank in about half a year. So I'm just happy that finally I'll be either set free, or maybe I'll be strung along for a little bit longer. And I'm sure if you want to know what I actually think they're going to say, we're not opposed to working on 6v6, but I think we're going to keep working on 5v5 for now. And if they say something like that, then I'm still being strung along, which is a bit unfortunate, but it is what it is. The reaction to this has been pretty funny, because holy shit, I can't wait to see this. Next post's going to ignite a war. Please try it in quick play hack before any rash decisions. I don't know what the fuck this is. Like, all these people who are saying, like, please try it. What the fuck do you think? Do you think they're just going to change the entire game to 6v6? And if they do, what the fuck is the problem? Because if they do just change it to 6v6 like that, that means they're at least willing to change the game format in major ways. So then maybe if it does play bad, we just go back to 5v5. But I think it's gonna be good. I'm not gonna lie. I think if we did do a 6v6 thing, it would be a lot more fun than the normal game, and you would get a lot of people coming back that have not been playing. This is crazy. The fact that people are still worried about double shield to me is actually laughable. Reinhardt's fucking shield goes down faster than any other ability in this game. Like, and that is the strongest shield in the game. It is not gonna be a problem, especially with characters like Ramatra and Junker Queen and all these other characters who have cleave damage. Yeah, no. I don't agree. I actually do think 5v5 could be good, but they clearly don't know how to make it good. And I don't know how to make it good either, to be honest. I know how to make 6v6 good, but 5v5, yeah, I have no idea. That's probably about it, though. I don't expect to see many other Overwatch videos on the channel. I will start uploading consistently again. I'm sorry about not uploading consistently. It's just I've been playing the Elden Ring DLC, and like I said, I'm trying to stay off the internet. So, all right. Yeah, later.